Pleasure to open this workshop, and it really, the title is a bit intriguing. It starts by the Asian Bank for Investment and is talking about China and the Middle East rapprochement and the common economic interests. I mean, that is more than anyone can to swallow, in terms of the issues to deal with. China, I don't have to say how much important to Egypt. I want to get into many historical facts about, the relationship between China and Egypt since the 1950s. Egypt was a country that got the courage to recognize China, and China was, China-Nasser relationship. But let us be frank with each other. The matter is not about history, it's about the future. It is about the coming history, not the passing history. And I guess that despite the very warm relationship between the two countries, their people, their leaders, I think our economic and social and cultural interactions are much less than what can be desired. And that is, I was very happy that the center, unfortunately I was not around. One of its projects that was done last year was with China. One of the earliest, projects we did with other countries, or 4 other countries, was with China. So that's, I think, was very important step, and it came out in a booklet in English that I hope that my colleagues here can put it for display and for our attendees to get it. Let me start by welcoming you all, but I want to make a very special welcome to Ambassador Song Ajiu, as I could pronounce it. Is it right, Ajiu? Or
yeah, almost right.
Almost. Ambassador Song is like, I will say, we have met briefly before when I was in the Ahram Center for Political and Strategic Studies. And now later on, probably 2 decades later, that tell that I'm getting old, but he's getting younger. And always our talk about China is warm and more important, always immediately get into the Chinese economic and political experience. China is one of the biggest and oldest civilizations in the world. So it is the Middle Kingdom. I don't know how my comrades in China will feel about some of old China, but China was the center of the world. And it really struck me, one of the things that in his last book, Henry Kissinger, about the international order, he made a very strange differentiation between the United States and China. Of course, most Americans, and I spent last year in the United States, see China as the coming power, if not the coming challenge to Western civilization. But he made that differentiation between China and the United States. He said that the United States is a country with values that they want to take them to the rest of the world. China, to the opposite, want the world to come to China to know its values. Somehow it's not to go and teach and sometimes impose values, But China is so rich in values that people should come to it and learn. So that's, I think, is something for all of us to think. So I welcome you all, welcome you, Mr. Ambassador. We have been very much honored to have you here. And we will start by a speech by Mr. Ambassador, and then our colleague, dear colleague, Dr. Hoda Medkis will start, the initiation of the workshop, and then we'll proceed to have our normal discussion. Mr. Ambassador, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, my dear friend, Dr. Said.
That's the easiest part in my name. Yeah.
It's a great pleasure to come here to this workshop to share something about China with my dear friends here. And also, I would like first to express my appreciation for the wonderful work that have done by this center, by RCSS, and also those important ideas created by this center for the closer relationship between China and Egypt. I tend to think that I would make some remarks on the questions asked by the center to myself in a written way. So that is something that I prepared for this workshop. But I think that if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I will do my best to answer. The first question asked to me is, what are the defining elements in China's Middle East policy? Middle East, of course, is very important for any country and for China as well. But we have some special ideas about the Middle East. First, the Middle East is an important region for China because it's situated in a very important geographic position. And the Middle East is important for China because China is now, I think, a very important buyer of the oil from this region. I think perhaps we are the number one importer of the oil of this region. And also, Middle East is very important for China because this region is the meeting place of both the ancient Silk Road by land and the Silk Road by sea, which is now becoming a very important project or mega project of opening up of China with those countries en route of this line. And also the Middle East important, I would say. That's the very important factor. Middle East, if you look at the Middle East, especially the Arab countries, they are all developing countries. China is a developing country. That is why we have many things in common. That is the base for our friendship and cooperation. And the Chinese idea to look at the trend of the world is that the call for peace and development is stronger, and so is the call for cooperation, and also for building a community of shared interests and destiny. So we share the same destiny as China and as the Arab world and as the countries in the Middle East. Taking into this consideration, we are committed to building a new type of international relations featuring win-win cooperation as its guideline for external relations. Actually, this month, let me say a couple of weeks ago, at the end of the April, there was an important commemoration made in Indonesia to mark the 60th anniversary of the Bandung Conference. That was the place where a new generation of the leaders of Asian and African continents met each other, and a very important declaration was issued at the end of the meeting. The conference, they are still the guidelines for China's foreign policy. And I would emphasize a very important part of the meeting when Chinese Premier Zhou Enlai met with the President Nasser at that time, and together with the then Prime Minister of India and of Burma, Myanmar, a very important document was issued at that time. That was the famous 5 principles of peaceful coexistence. And they are still the guideline of China's foreign policy. And also, it is followed by a great number of countries in the world. So maintaining friendly relations with Middle East countries is an important part of China's foreign policy. We are willing to work with all regional governments to continue to follow the win-win strategy of opening up and a win-win approach in all aspects of our relations, including political, economic, security, and the cultural fields. In political field, of course, we advocate the principle of respect to each other's paths of development and building partnership. The Middle East is undergoing an unprecedented reshuffling, and Arab states too are independently pursuing reforms. This is what we have witnessed here in Egypt. A reform is now taking place, and we are willing to share our experience with them. Let me tell you one story. I think in the year of 1979, China was just starting its opening up policy and practice. As we sent some team to port side to learn how to run a free zone, something like that. And we learned and we put into practice. Now, of course, we gain some important experience. We are in a position and we are willing to share these experience with our Egyptian friends and brothers. And the last year, we upgraded or elevated our relations with Egypt and Algeria to the level of a comprehensive strategic partnership, hosted the 6th Ministerial Conference of the China-Arab Cooperation Forum, and put forth initiatives for China-Arab joint efforts to build the Silk Road economic belt and the 21st century maritime Silk Road, and create a new 1+2+3 cooperation pattern, which are responded favorably by the Arab countries. And when President Sisi was making his historical state visit to China, both presidents of China and Egypt signed a very important document saying that we are upgrading our relations from strategic relationship to comprehensive strategic partnership. This is not just something in words, but actually it has many things in contents. In the document, there are important areas of cooperation listed. Let me tell you something about the 1+2+3 cooperation pattern with the Arab world, between China and Arab world. One means taking energy cooperation as the core, reinforcing cooperation throughout the whole industrial chain of oil and gas, and defending the energy transportation channels to build long-term strategic energy cooperative relations. And the two means taking infrastructure construction and trade and investment facilitation as two wings, like a bird or like a plane. These are the two wings, strengthening the China-Arab states partnership in major development projects and projects designed to improve people's livelihood. And the three means taking the three high and new technology fields of nuclear energy, space, satellites, and renewable energy as breakthroughs to promote bilateral pragmatic cooperation. This is important, and this is what we are pursuing, and this also what we are discussing with the Egypt, with the Egyptian authorities. And in economic field, we strive for win-win cooperation, one belt under one road, with the Silk Roads, of course. Put forward by China is the path to mutual benefit and win-win results, and will push forward the infrastructure construction and innovations of relevant countries, create new economic and employment growth points. This is important. I think the emphasis of the cooperation is the infrastructure and also the innovations. I think they are very important, especially for the Chinese relations with those countries like Egypt. And the China and the Arab states enjoy mutual understanding and friendship because of historical ties, including the Silk Road, and are natural partners in jointly enhancing cooperation. China is prepared to support Arab states in increasing employment, advancing industrialization, and pushing economic development. And the Chinese experience tells us that the ways to develop our country well actually lie in the modernization, namely industrialization and modern agriculture and so on. They are awfully important. At the also regarding the security issues, of course, we as in the Chinese side advocate dialogue and peace. China unwaveringly supports the Middle East peace process in favor of establishing a state of Palestine of full sovereignty based on the 1967 boundary with the East Jerusalem as its capital. And China backs the establishment of a nuclear weapon-free zone in the Middle East. And China believes in the following three principles in handling hotspot issue. That is, no country should interfere in other countries' internal affairs or impose its own will on others. Countries concerned should act in an impartial and objective manner and refrain from seeking selfish interests. And the political solutions should be sought in addressing hotspot issues. And China will continue to play a constructive role in handling regional affairs. In cultural field, we are also in favor of boosting mutual learning between our cultures. China and Arab countries have set a good example of a harmonious coexistence between countries with different social systems, beliefs, and traditions. China will continue to unswervingly support Arab states' efforts to safeguard their cultural traditions and oppose all discriminative behavior and biases targeted at certain nations and religions. Let me elaborate a bit for this point, because in recent years there are such a saying to claim that extremism or terrorism are related to certain religion. We are totally opposed to this kind of the idea. It is a common task for the international community to cope with the extremism and terrorism. This is not a task for a single country or a group of countries. There should be no double standards in this respect. And the second point is that are there any problems or issues between China and the Arab countries? On the whole, we enjoy very good relations of friendship and cooperation between China and the Arab countries. And we are developing our relationship based on the 5 principles of peaceful coexistence. In recent years, we witness a rapid growing relationship for the cooperation in various fields. And I think that this is the common position and also the common desire of both China and the Arab countries. There might be some different, I would say, different things of doing things, not different things of different ideas for the developing our relationship. The difference is the different ways of doing things, which is a common practice. Take, for example, now we are discussing with the Egyptian side how to boost our cooperation and ties in various fields, like energy, infrastructure, and industry, and so on. We are now focusing our efforts on those sectors such as energy and infrastructure, transportation. The Chinese way of doing things is that we would like to first have a good feasibility study about the projects, and then we will decide which one is going to be put into practice for our cooperation or to take place. The Egyptian way of doing things is a bit different. I would rather call that as a kind of the regional practice, perhaps a practice which is suitable for their cooperation among Arab nations, we are asked to first to set certain amount of money for our cooperation, and then we will discuss the specific projects. So I think this is different ideas or different way of doing things, but the ideas are the same. We are going to have closer cooperation, and we are going to find out the projects to be convenient for the cooperation between both sides. So I think this may take some time for the both sides to understand what is the exact way to start our cooperation. I think now we are coming much closer for our stand and for our cooperation. Both sides are discussing the way to formulate a kind of joint financial group or working team to see the possibilities and the needs of each other. The second point is that China is still a developing country. Just now I talked to Dr. Said. If we look at the size of the economy, China is the second largest economy in the world. But we should not forget the fact that China has the largest population in the world. We have a population of more than 1.3 billion. So if we look at the per capita income, China ranks between the 80th or the 90th place in the world. That is to say, more than 80 countries are ahead of China in the per capita, in terms of per capita income. So of course we would like to provide more credit loans to our Arab friends, including Egypt, to have a closer cooperation. However, that credit or loans should be based on different patterns. The state loan or soft loan provided by the state, and also the loan provided by the commercial banks, or the mixture of the state of the loans provided by both the state and the commercial banks. So I encounter some of the things that the China is asked to provide only the loans is provided by the state. So I think that we should look at the picture as a whole, and to try to choose which is convenient. And also, there are some important discussions or argument about the trade relationship. Actually, we have a very good trade relationship with the Arab countries. I'm going to talk about that in the next question. However, if we look at the figures, we can find out that the total income, the total import made by China from the Arab countries actually is larger than the total export that China makes to the Arab countries. And also for those countries, rather than the OPEC, we enjoy, as a matter of fact, the surplus or the of our trade, the trade is developing China's favor. However, that is not a result of China's intention. We would like to have a balanced trade relationship. I think things are needed to be done for more the efforts like having some fairs in China to let the Chinese side to know what suitable commodities that we can import from the Arab countries. So this is also another, I would say, a problem. But this is not a problem based on the intention of the Chinese side. It is a result of the structure of the trade. However, we are also making efforts to try to import more from the Arab countries and also from the Egypt. And this is the second question asked to me. And then the third one is, will China become the largest business partner of the regional countries? My answer is, to a certain extent, China is already the largest business partner. In fact, China is the major business partner of many regional countries. I think China is the biggest trading partner of Egypt. And last year, we have a total of the volume of trade worth of $11.6 billion between China and Egypt. In the next 5 years, China will import commodities worth of over $10 trillion and make as much as $500 billion in outward foreign direct investments. And I have some data. Last year, the total trade volume between China and the Arab countries was $251 billion, which was an increase of 5.1% over the previous year, and among which the total Chinese import from Arab countries was something about $137 billion. The Chinese export to the Arab countries was last year was $114 billion. So this is the data that I have. Of course, it's true that because we import large quantities of oil from the, I think, namely the OPEC countries in this part of the world. So we imported more than what we exported. But still, I would say that the trade relations is developing, generally speaking, in favor of the Arab countries. And this is the situation that we have. We are going to try to find ways and means to have closer and larger cooperation with the Arab countries. And China prefers win-win cooperation rather than profit making, China will strengthen the China-Arab States partnership in major development projects and projects designed to improve people's livelihood. China will also encourage its enterprises to invest in the energy, petrochemical, agricultural, manufacturing, and service sectors to increase China's non-financial investment stock to the Arab states to over $60 billion in the following decade. So we will accelerate the negotiations on and promote the establishment of free trade areas between China and the GCC countries, and also along with the China-UAE Joint Investment Bank. And then let me touch upon the fourth and the last question. That is, how could the Middle East countries benefit from the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank? I would like to express my congratulations to my Egyptian friends for the fact that Egypt is now one of the 57 prospective founding members of that bank. This is the latest development. And Egypt was actually taken to the bank as a prospective founding member on April the 14th. And there are Egypt, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Kuwait, Qatar, Oman, and Jordan as the prospective founding members in the Arab countries. And I think the Egyptian membership is very meaningful because Egypt was the first African country to apply for the membership, which not only enhanced AIIB's geographical representation, but also reflected the dynamic of the China-Egypt comprehensive strategic partnership. And many actually Middle East countries are in need for infrastructure investment, and the AIIB offers a new and unique platform for the much needed capital, and the development of infrastructure in those countries will in turn lead to an improvement of overall economy. Moreover, the AIIB will also provide ideal opportunities for top financial talents from the region. Now, the rules, the organization, and the management team are still in discussion. I think by the end of next month, very important decisions of the management of the structure would be worked out. So I think then I myself will in a better position to answer much of your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. I think there are many important points in Ambassador's speech. Two really struck me very much. One, that the difference between those who seeks money first and then look for answering the question what to do with it, and those who decide what kind of a project they need and then look for where to get the money. That's two important perspectives, and I will not wonder much which one of them is more right than others. I think to have a project is first, and if you have interesting project, usually the money is not the problem. It's one of the elements of how to make the project, and the money is out there. The second point is how Egypt get into the Asian investment infrastructure investment bank. He said that the first African country, I guess we got there as Asian country, by the fact that we have, Sinai, which is much more in space than the European part of Turkey. That makes Turkey looking for being part of Europe. So I think Egypt has to work out its own Asian credentials for the coming future. Now I will let our friend and colleague, Dr. Huda Mekis, to start launch the discussion of this workshop. And we welcome her here.
Thank you very much. Though I have been told that the Arabic language is the language that I'm going to use, but I think I have to start this speech, if I may say, by the two only Chinese words that I know, which is ni hao and che che. So, I think since I'm not a Chinese native speaker, so I will use the English language, and then I will go straight to the Arabic one. I see this opportunity to express my personal appreciation to Dr. Abdulmenem Said for inviting me to attend or to participate in this important event. We all know Dr. Said. I think it's difficult to say something about Dr. Said because we all know that he is a very prominent researcher and a very qualified and efficient director. I also welcome His Excellency, the Ambassador of China in Egypt, Mr. Song, if I pronounced it well.
Yes.
Please correct me if I'm wrong. Hoping for a fruitful and continuous cooperation between the two countries, let's say the Sino-Egyptian relation. I have been once the director of the Center for Asian Study, and I was very much lucky to meet many Chinese ambassadors. Among them, if I remember, Mr. Wusika. He was a very prominent, very efficient, and very qualified. I think you know him. And he kept saying all the time, when I started talking about the rise of China, and here I have a book published by the same center, he kept saying, please, Dr. Hoda, the peaceful rise of China, it's not only the rise of China, in order to reassure everyone that this rise of China is a peaceful one and not else. Okay, so this is what I had in mind, but I would like very much to emphasize and to focus on something. For me, it's very important. Maybe you are talking about economy, and economy as the economic factor is vital in the Sino-Egyptian relation. That I know. But in the same time, I'm very much interested in the cultural, aspect, or the common ground that we have, both Egypt and China. For this reason, allow me to speak after that in Arabic in order to say a lot of things. Maybe I will express myself. I express myself in English and in French sometimes, but in Arabic it will be more, much good for me. So, what I have in mind is that though economy is for China is a must and is very important, for me we have other aspects and we have other domains to cooperate with each other. You're with me or you are against? Because every time I speak to a Chinese ambassador, he kept focusing on the economic aspect and the economic dimension and so forth. So it's not a question, maybe we'll discuss this.
You will answer later.
Yes, later on. It's not my... Okay. الحقيقة يعني I will allow me to change the language in Arabic, the language I know the best, maybe later on French, but now it will be okay. الحقيقة يعني أنا دعيت وسعيدة بأكرر سعادتي بالدعوة الدكتور عبد المنعم وأستاذ الغيطاني. الحقيقة أنا أعلم تماما وهو ليس لا أعبر عن هذا الأمر في إطار استهلالة أو في إطار ديباجة معتادة. لا، الحقيقة أنا سعيدة بوجودي في هذا المركز، لا لشيء إلا أنه ولد عملاقا. وأكرر وأنا كثيرا ما لا أحب أبدا الإطراء، يعني عرف عني ذلك، لكن عندما أجد نفسي أمام صرح عملاق أو بمعنى صح ولد عملاقا، فعلي أن أحيي من قام بهذه المهمة. وكما ذكرت في كلمتي باللغة الإنجليزية، كن دكتور عبد المنعم أينما وجد فهو دائما وأبدا يعني يرقى بالمكان الذي يوجد فيه، ولا يرتقي به وإنما يرقى به في الحقيقة. أعرف دكتور عمان من زمان، مش هقول من إمتى عشان خاطر الموضوع ده بالنسبة لي محرج شوية لكن حقيقة لكن بتوجه طبعا به بكل شكر. أيضا في الكلمة اللي أنا تحدثت فيها لم أعطي لمعالي السفير الصين في جمهورية مصر العربية حقه الحقيقة لعدة أسباب، لأنه كنت أرغب أن يسمع هذه الكلمة مني باللغة العربية، لأن عندما يجي سفير صيني في مصر عادة ما بيكون منتقى، يعني عادة بيتم انتقائه بحذر وبروية بحيث أنه يكون أكثر دراية عن ما يحدث بشأن العلاقات بين البلدين، وأيضا فيما يتعلق بكيفية تدعيم العلاقة بين كل من البلدين. أذكر دائما، وكنت أذكر طلبتي وأيضا المؤتمرات الكثيرة التي عقدتها أنا شخصيا مع الجانب الصيني، أن الصين تجد ومصر أيضا تجد أن هناك دائما أرضية مشتركة بين مصر، كل من مصر والصين. يعني لا نجد أننا مع الصين هناك أمور نخجل من ذكرها، أو هناك علاقة استعمارية سابقة، أو هناك بعض الأمور أو الشوائب التي تشوب هذه العلاقة، وبالتالي بنبدأ في الحقيقة مع بعض في إطار علاقة واضحة، وعلاقة إذا جاز التعبير وهو ليس بشيء شائن، علاقة المصلحة المشتركة تلعب دور هام في تحديد أهم ملامحها وقسمتها. فبأحيي جناب السفير، وبأتذكر سفراء كثر من قبله كما ذكرت مستر ووسيكا وغيره، وأنا كنت دائما وأبدا على علاقة طيبة بهم، وقمنا بأعمال كثيرة بشأن تدعيم التعاون بين كل من الدولتين. وكما ذكرت وأكرر، كنت أود وما زلت أن يتخطى نطاق التعامل والتعاون البعد الاقتصادي فقط، وإنما بنتطرق إلى أبعاد كثيرة وما أكثر، من ضمنها البعد الثقافي، من ضمنها البعد القيمي أو القيمي إذا جاز التعبير، وهي أيضا أرضية راسخة وثابتة. الواقع برضو ما أرغب في الإشادة به أنني في تعاملي مع الجانب الصيني، خاصة عندما كنت في فترة ما مديرة لمركز الدراسات الأسيوية، وجدت من الصينيين جانب كبير من الجدية، وجانب كبير من المهارة والإجادة والحنكة، بمعنى ودي يعني دي من القيم اللي أنا أزعم أن أنا يعني متعمقة فيها بشكل كبير، القيم الأسيوية اللي بتصب في نهاية الأمر في القيم الصينية، هي التي صدرت للعالم الأسيوي هذه القيم. من بينها على سبيل المثال للحصر العمل الجماعي والرغبة في وتقديس العمل إلى آخره. إذا طبقنا هذا الأمر مع بعد اقتصادي اللي هو محور كلامنا اليوم عن البنك الأسيوي، لوجدنا أن اهتمام الصين بهذا الموضوع يجيء انطلاقا من قناعة قديمة لدى الصينيين وهي مستمرة إلى وقتنا هذا، وهو الاهتمام بالبعد الاقتصادي جدا، الاهتمام بالادخار، الاهتمام بكل ما يتعلق بالجوانب مش هقول المصلحية وإنما التي تعود بالنفع على الأفراد. وهنا أذكر بشكل إيجابي وليس بشكل سلبي أن كثير من الأسيويين ذو الأصول الصينية في أماكن أخرى على غرار الماليزيون من أصول صينية والإندونيسيين أيضا من أصول صينية، نجد هؤلاء هم أكثر وأمهر الناس فيما يتعلق بالشأن الاقتصادي في هذه الدول. هذا أمر لا يمكن إغفاله ويصعب جدا عدم الحديث عنه. هنا برضو بيحضرني بما إن يعني أزعم أن أنا يعني بشرف ان يكون عندي ثقافه فرانكوفونيه الى حد ما، مقوله بونابرت الشهيره وهي بترجمتها باللغه العربيه احذروا العملاق الاصفر اذا ما استيقظ، لو جيون جون او ذا يلو جاينت. واعتقد انه قد استيقظ يعني يقظه جاده وبلغ اشده والان يسعى جاهدا، وهو ما يثلج صدرنا الحقيقه ان هناك رغبة من جانب قوة كبرى على أن تشارك في النظام الدولي، على أن يكون هناك تعددية في النظام المالي العالمي، وبالتالي ولكن الحقيقة إحقاقا للحق بنبرة شديدة التواضع. يعني لم أتحدث مع أحد من المسؤولين الصينيين على أعلى مستوى، وكنت في زيارات عدة للصين وقابلت كثير من قيادات الحزب الشيوعي، وإذا به يكرر مرارا وتكرارا، يكرر دائما هو أن الصين دولة نامية، دولة تنتمي للعالم الثالث، دولة كل اهتمامها هو تحقيق الاكتفاء الذاتي وليس أكثر من ذلك. فهي لا تسعى إلى الهيمنة على غرار المجتمع أو على غرار النظم الغربية، ولا تسعى إلى ليس المنفعة، وإنما تسعى إلى الاستغلال، وإنما تسعى إلى التعاون في إطار سلمي، وهو كما ذكرت ما أكد عليه كثير من المسؤولين الصينيين. الحقيقة يعني اسمحوا لي، أنا قرأت الورقة بتاعت إيمان بنتنا وطالبتي وابنتي العزيزة، وطبعا هذه الورقة تتمحور حول البنك الأسيوي وأهمية هذا الموضوع. أنا أراه في منتهى الأهمية، ليس فقط للصين ولكن بالأساس لمصر ولكثير من الدول العربية، وأيضا في دول أوروبية هي يعني باركت هذا الأمر. لكن أهمية الموضوع أنا في رؤيتي كأستاذة للنظم المقارنة وللنظم العربية، وأنوه أن النظم العربية كانت وما زالت حظيرة اهتماماتي الأولى، ولكنني أصبحت أسيوية الهوى حقيقة. يعني أنا عربية الأصول ومصرية الأصول، ولكن أسيوية الهوى من يعني من عظم تأثري بهذه التجربة. وعندما نتحدث عن آسيا زي ما ذكر الدكتور منهم، بأكد عليه بأضيف إنه كثيرا ما عرفت آسيا بأنها الصين، والصين بأنها آسيا، يعني وكأن اختزلت آسيا كلها بأنها الصين. أهمية الموضوع بترتبط في تصوري ليس فقط بهذا الإيفنت، ولكن بترتبط بمحاور أخرى أكثر اتساعا، وهذه المحاور تتناغم وتتوافق مع اهتماماتي اللي أنا ذكرتها الآن، سواء في المجال الآسيوي سواء حتى في المجال العربي. هو أن القرن ال21 كما نعلم أصبح قرنا آسيويا، بمعنى شئنا أم أبينا، إذا كان القرن ال19 كان قرنا أوروبيا، ثم ال20 قرنا أمريكيا بشكل أو بآخر، فنحن إذا قرن 21 في كل الليتراتشرز الغربية وغير الغربية بتؤكد على أن هذا القرن بملامحه بقسماته بميزان القوى العالمي الذي بات يميل وكفته ترجح ناحية آسيا، كل هذا يؤكد أن هذه أو مستقبل العالم في الفترة التالية سوف يكون لآسيا. وبالتالي أحد هذه الملامح هو ما ذكر في هذه الورقة، وما أكثر مما يمكن أن يذكر في مجالات أخرى. يحضرني مثلا على سبيل المثال أن كثير من الطلبة بتوعي، كثير جدا منهم بيدرسوا أو طلبوا مني أن يدرسوا اللغة الصينية، فهي مطلوبة. أيضا اللغة في بعض الأحيان اللغة الكورية، وفي أحيان أخرى اللغة اليابانية، وإنما التركيز على اللغة الصينية. فهذا يشير إلى أننا نتعامل في المستقبل القريب وليس البعيد مع بالفعل تجربة صاعدة، وكما ذكر في السياق هي ليست تجربة صاعدة بتفرض قيمها على الآخرين، وإنما هي بتسعى لأن يقتدي بها الآخرون، أو بمعنى أصح أن يستجلي ملامحها ويتعرف على أسباب نجاحاتها لعلنا نستفيد من هذا الأمر. النقطة اللي أحب برضو أشير إليها وهي محورية، طالما وكثيرا ما تحدثنا أو يتحدث الغرب عن الإصلاح السياسي في دول آسيوية in general وليس في الصين بس، يتحدثوا عن تطورات سياسية، لكن هنا هنجد أن الصين بالذات، وأنا في هذا الإطار يعني الحقيقة يعني وجهة النظر دي أنا أحترمها إلى حد كبير، وقد لا يختلف معي البعض الآخر، لكن موقع الصدارة في اهتمامات هذه الدولة هي أو إعطاء الأولوية للبعد الاقتصادي، وفيما بعد يعني قد ينظر إلى أبعاد أخرى، ولكن it's not the proper time أو the convenient time إنه يتم التركيز على البعد السياسي. ويمكن برضو ده من المنطلق ده بنتنا ركزت على الإيفنت الهام الذي تسعى الصين من خلاله إلى خلق التغير أو تغيير في أقطاب القرار الاقتصادي العالمي. يعني بدل ما يبقى قطب أو قطبين، إن في تعددية تطالب بها الصين عن حق وعن جدارة، تطلب ذلك في العالم الاقتصادي في النظام العالمي الاقتصادي، وتطلب أيضا في النظام العالمي في أبعاده بعيدا عن اتفاقات بريتون وودز وغيرها من صندوق النقد الدولي وغيره. من النقاط برضو برغم أنها قد يتصور أنها بعيدة يعني قد بشكل أو بآخر عن موضوع الدراسة، لكن الصين هي الآن تقود حملة دولية للإطاحة بالنظام العالمي المالي، مما يثير بشكل واضح كثير من الأسواق العالمية. وفي نفس الوقت بالنسبة لنا إحنا بينعش لدينا الأسواق العربية، بحيث ممكن قوي يتمكن هذا البنك من اجتذاب الكثير من الاستثمارات في البنى التحتية وتمويل المشاريع الإنمائية. كلمة إنمائية دي في الحقيقة اسمحوا لي أيضا بتشير أو بتثير لدي بعض الأمور الهامة. كلمة developmental state أو الدولة الإنمائية، يعني وكأننا، ودي نقطة أنا بالنسبة لي محورية وأساسية فايتال، يعني احنا عشنا في فترة من الفترات على مقولات هانتينغتون وفوكوياما اللي قتلت بحثا، وأن هناك انتصار ultimate legitimate alternative، وأن هناك انتصار للمنظومة إلى آخره للمنظومة الغربية. فإذا بنا بنشهد تصاعد لمنظومة أخرى بعيدة معارضة، مش هقول بقى بعيدة، متعارضة عن المنظومة الأخرى، مما أدى إلى يعني we have to reconsider أو يعني مراجعة هذه المقولات، بحيث أنه مما لا شك فيه أننا أصبحنا إزاء تجربة ناجحة في الصين. وهذه التجربة الناجحة زي ما بنشوف حالا في موضوعنا اليوم إحدى تجليات هذه التجربة في هذا البنك. فهذه الدولة تسعى إلى أن يكون لها موطئ قدم وأن يكون لها مكانة في المجال السياسي بعيدا عن السياسة خالص، إنما في المجال الاقتصادي أصبحنا إزاء دولة تسعى إلى أن يكون لها دور إنمائي. يعني في كل العالم وجدنا أن الدولة أو يطالب أو في مطالبات بأن دور الدولة يتراجع، نوع من الجارديان ستيت، دولة جارديان ستيت أو شيء من هذا القبيل، الدولة الحارسة. فإذا بالصين تكسر هذه المقولات وتؤكد على محورية وأهمية دور الدولة في هذا الشأن. وأعتقد أيضا هذه التجربة بتوضح محورية دور الدولة في إنشائها. دكتور عبد المنعم الحقيقة يعني اداني إشارات كده فيها نوع من التهديد والوعيد، وأنا بنصاع على طول لهذه العلامات والإشارات والإيماءات. وبالتالي الحقيقة أنا الكلمة أو النقطة الوحيدة اللي أنا بتهمني إنه كل ما يحدث في الصين بيشير إلى الإعلاء من شأن الفكر الجمعي أو الكولكتيفيزم versus individualism. يعني إذا كنت بقول في تباين وتعارض بين مفردات المنظومة القيمية هنا وهناك، أفرزت إحداها في الصين هذا الحدث الهام، فنجد إنه في الغرب يعني لا يميلون كثيرا إلا إلى الفكر الفردي، وهو ليس بعيب، وإنما هذا ناجح في مجاله والآخر أيضا ناجح في مجاله، ولكن على الأقل هناك نوع من التباين، يعني هناك تباين في الرؤى أكيد مفيد لنا إحنا كباحثين، بحيث إنه لدينا الفكر الفردي الذي يؤكد على تليفوني ولا تليفونك؟ طب بقوني حديثي بقى عشان تليفوني للأسف ما عملتوش سايلنت، وأشكركم لحسن الاستماع. شكرا.
شكرا للدكتورة هدى.